Many people in the world love fish, whether you just love it just to love it or because you have cultural ties to certain seafood dishes. But have you ever stopped to wonder how our desire for seafood disrupts not only our physical health, but also disrupts the health of our ocean's environments? So the problem mainly is that the consumer's growing demand for fish, and the solution could be just as simple as limiting your seafood consumption. And some of the visual benefits that we can see is not only an improvement in our health as human beings, but also in the health and well-being of our ocean's ecosystems. And so I challenge you to limit seafood from your diet and see how far you can push yourself. And taking that small step can result in having a really large impact. And so the problem, going a little more into depth being that the growing demand for fish is the main source of a lot of the problems that we see in our oceans. And you might be wondering, well, how is any of this connected? How is my love for seafood connected to any of this? Well, the problem is that we have large fishing industries that exist today because of our demand for seafood. They wouldn't exist if we didn't want an abundance of seafood. And therefore, they are responsible for overfishing and plastic pollution. So they are responsible for taking fish from our oceans in extremely large amounts and therefore destroying and disrupting a very delicate food chain that is in our oceans. And not only that, they are also responsible for a lot of plastic pollution. So according to the World Wildlife Organization, discarded nets, lines, and ropes make up 46% of plastic pollution in our oceans, which is an extremely large amount. And according to a study by McLean in 2016, those plastic nets are also responsible for wiping out entire coral reefs, leaving them lifeless. And sea creatures also die when caught up in those nets as well. They just get choked up and wrapped up in those nets. And it is a really, really big problem, and it is responsible for destroying a lot of wildlife in our oceans. And you might be wondering, well, how would I be able to even help in the first place? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. By doing something as simple as limiting seafood from your diet. Well, and the reason why that you're able to do something so simple that can have such a large impact is because those large fishing industries would not have the consumer support anymore. They would not be able to do what they do if people were not buying fish from them anymore. And so by not supporting large fishing industries and maybe supporting more sustainable fisheries or more sustainable fishing companies, that would already be such a large improvement. But there are other options as well. You can substitute fish from your diet. There's a place in San Diego called the Purple Mint, and I love going there. And they have soy protein substitutions for meat. So not only for fish, but for beef, for pork, and it tastes very, very, very similar. I couldn't even tell the difference, and it tastes delicious. But if you want to push yourself even further, eliminating seafood from your diet altogether would create the largest impact. And it's something relatively simple, and something that's actually possible to do. So some of the visual benefits that you can see as an improvement in your physical health, because as we all know, fish and mercury, there's a lot of mercury within our fish and microplastics as well. And according to the study done by Martinez in 2014, mercury is detrimental to our nervous systems. And microplastics, according to a study done by Prata in 2020, microplastics are responsible for a lot of inflammation, chronic inflammation in our bodies because it cannot be processed and broken down. So you can actually see an improvement in your physical health by reducing fish from your diet. And another benefit that you can see is having the opportunity to try new foods that you may not have known about before, like the soy protein based foods that I was talking about earlier. There's also many other plant based options And another benefit that you can see that probably has the largest impact is seeing the environment flourishing once again. And so therefore now you know how the consumer's desire for fish impacts the ecosystem within our oceans and how it impacts our physical health as well. The problem being the consumer's growing demand for fish, and the solution being something as simple as limiting seafood from your diet. And you see the visual benefits of an improvement in your physical health and an improvement in the ocean's ecosystems as well. And you can see the oceans thrive. So I challenge you to limit fish from your diet, not just for yourself, but to save the oceans as well.